The Texas sun blazed over the plains, setting the sky aflame with streaks of orange and gold as the small frontier settlement of Willow Creek stood on the edge of ruin. The tension between the settlers and the Comanche tribe had reached its breaking point. Crops were burned, cattle stolen, and men had died on both sides. Everyone knew that one more spark would ignite a war that could destroy them all. At the heart of the chaos was Emily Carter, the governor's daughter, a woman of quiet strength and unyielding spirit. Her father, John Carter, had spent years trying to keep peace between his people and the native tribes, but now, his efforts were collapsing. A Comanche chief named Tahoma had lost his brother in a raid gone wrong, and his heart burned with vengeance. He demanded retribution, and the settlers demanded justice. Both sides were ready for blood. When Tahoma rode into the settlement one evening, his warriors flanking him like shadows, silence fell. His presence commanded both fear and respect. His eyes, sharp and dark as obsidian, locked onto the governor's home. The wind seemed to hold its breath as he dismounted and spoke in a low, calm voice that carried the weight of generations. "There will be no more peace unless we seal it with blood," he said. "But not through war, through unity. Your daughter will be my wife." The words struck the settlement like thunder. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Emily's father's face turned pale. "That is not possible," he said firmly. "She is not a prize to be traded." Tahoma's jaw tightened. "Then prepare for war," he said coldly, before mounting his horse and disappearing into the horizon. That night, the council gathered in panic. The settlers had no army, no reinforcements, and no time. If war came, the town would be wiped off the map. Emily listened silently from the shadows as the men argued. She could feel the weight of hundreds of lives pressing against her chest. Children, mothers, old men, they would all die if peace failed. And so, when the debate reached its breaking point, Emily stepped forward and spoke softly, "If my marriage can save lives, then I will do it." Her father looked at her, his eyes full of pain and disbelief. "Emily, no, you don't know what you're agreeing to." "I know enough," she said, her voice steady. "If my sacrifice can end this hatred, then it's worth it." 2 days later, under the open sky and the eyes of both settlers and warriors, Emily Carter became the wife of Chief Tahoma. There were no flowers, no music, only the sound of the wind moving through the tall grass and the distant cry of an eagle. She stood tall in a simple white dress, her heart trembling, as Tahoma placed a handmade necklace of carved bone and turquoise around her neck, a symbol of union and peace. As they rode toward the Comanche camp, Emily's world faded behind her. Every hoofbeat carried her further from everything she had ever known. The vast plains seemed endless, and fear coiled deep within her. The camp was alive with color and movement, tents of buffalo hide, fires flickering, children laughing, warriors sharpening arrows. She felt like a stranger in another world. Tahoma led her to his lodge, his expression unreadable. He spoke little, only instructing her where to sit and offering her water. Though his people watched her with curiosity, no one mocked her. The chief had made his choice, and his tribe respected it. That first night, she could not sleep. The sounds of the camp, the crackling fire, the distant drums, the whinny of horses, filled the darkness. She thought of her home, of her father's tearful eyes, and wondered if she would ever see him again. Days passed. Emily remained quiet, cautious, always aware of the eyes that followed her. Tahoma rarely spoke, but he treated her with a strange kind of dignity. He gave her a separate space in his lodge, ensured she had food, and instructed the women to teach her their ways. They showed her how to grind corn, weave hides, and braid her hair in their style. At first, she resisted, clinging to her old life, but slowly, she began to see their humanity. These were not savages, as many settlers had said. They were families, protectors, dreamers. One afternoon, while gathering herbs near the river, Emily slipped on a rock and cut her hand. Tahoma appeared out of nowhere, silent and swift. He knelt beside her, took her hand gently, and wrapped it with a strip of leather. His touch was careful, almost reverent. For the first time, she met his eyes not with fear, but with curiosity. "Why did you agree to marry me?" she asked quietly. He looked toward the horizon. "Because peace is worth more than pride," he said. "And I saw in your eyes that you understood that." His words lingered with her long after he walked away. That night, she couldn't help but think about him, the man behind the title of chief. Beneath his stern exterior was a deep sadness, a burden of leadership and loss. She began to see the world through his eyes, the broken treaties, the land stolen, the blood spilled. For the first time, she realized that her people were not the only ones suffering. Weeks turned into months. Emily's fear faded, replaced by fascination and respect. She learned the Comanche language, helped the women care for the children, and even laughed at their fires. She found beauty in their songs and meaning in their traditions. Tahoma began to speak with her more often, sharing stories of his youth, his battles, and the dreams he held for his people, a future where they could live without fear of extermination. One night, during a storm, lightning split the sky, and thunder rolled across the plains. The camp huddled together as the wind tore through the tents. Emily saw a young boy caught outside, terrified. Without hesitation, she ran into the storm to pull him to safety. When she returned, soaked and shivering, Tahoma wrapped a blanket around her shoulders, his eyes fierce with concern. "You risked your life for one of us," he said. "He's a child," she replied softly. "He's part of your people, and now, I suppose, mine too." For the first time, Tahoma smiled. It was faint, almost hesitant, but it changed something between them. From that night on, they were no longer enemies bound by duty, they were partners learning to trust. As spring returned to the plains, so too did warmth grow between them. Emily found herself drawn to Tahoma's quiet strength, the way he listened before he spoke, and the kindness he showed even when burdened by leadership. She had expected fear, resentment, and perhaps loneliness, but love. That was something she had never imagined. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon and painted the world in crimson light, Tahoma stood beside her on a hill overlooking the camp. "When I first saw you," he said, "I thought you were a symbol of everything that had been taken from us. But now, I see that you were the gift we never expected." Emily's heart ached with emotion. She turned to him, her voice trembling. "And I thought you were the man who had stolen my freedom. But now I see, you gave me a new kind of life." Their hands met, and for the first time, they kissed, not as strangers bound by politics, but as two souls who had found peace in each other. Months later, word came from Willow Creek. The settlers wished to renew their trade with the Comanche, grateful for the peace that Emily's marriage had secured. Her father wrote to her, his letter trembling with pride and sorrow, "You saved us all, my daughter. You ended a war before it began." When she read it, tears filled her eyes. She realized she no longer belonged to one world or the other, she was a bridge between them. A woman who had found love where she least expected it, and in doing so, had healed generations of hatred. Years passed. Emily and Tahoma's union became legend across the plains. Under their leadership, the peace held firm. Settlers and Comanche began to trade, to talk, and slowly, to trust. Children of mixed blood played in the fields, a living symbol of the harmony their parents had forged. Emily never forgot the sacrifice she made, but she also never forgot what she gained. She had entered the marriage expecting to lose her freedom, yet she discovered a love deeper than she had ever dreamed, and a purpose that gave meaning to every hardship. One night, as the stars spread like silver dust across the velvet sky, she sat beside Tahoma by the fire. He looked at her and said, "You were forced to marry me, but you stayed by choice. For that, I am forever grateful." She smiled, taking his hand. "No," she whispered, "I was never forced to love you. That came on its own." And so, the story of Emily Carter and Chief Tahoma lived on, not as a tale of war or submission, but as a testament to courage, compassion, and the unexpected power of love. In a world divided by fear and pride, two hearts had found each other and changed history, not with swords or treaties, but with understanding. Long after they were gone, the plains still whispered their story. Travelers spoke of the white woman who became a Comanche queen, and the warrior chief who laid down his weapons for peace. Their union became more than a legend, it became a reminder that sometimes, love is the strongest peace treaty of all.